Hey guys, Constance here from Cosmopolitan Cornbread. So today I thought I would bring you into the kitchen to do a little baking. I'm going to be making some bread. This is challah, or challah, however you want to say it. It is a traditional Jewish bread, and it is often made for Sabbath or for feast days, but it is just a wonderful and beautiful braided bread loaf, and so that is what I'm going to make today. Now this starts off with some very basic ingredients. Well, really the whole thing is very basic ingredients, but it calls for all-purpose flour, not bread flour. So we're going to need 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to mix this in my mixing bowl here, and I've got a dough hook there. Alright, 3. And a half. Alright. Next I need 2¼ teaspoons of instant or rapid rise yeast. And 1¼ teaspoon of salt. I'm using kosher salt here. So there's 1 teaspoon. So I'm just going to give that a quick stir to mix those ingredients together. Alright, now for my liquid ingredients. I have a 1/2 cup of room temperature water, and this is water that's been filtered so it doesn't have any chlorine or anything like that in it. Anytime you are working with yeast, it is best to use unchlorinated water. And to that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Okay. Now I'm going to add in 2 whole eggs. And then the 3rd egg, I don't need the whole egg, I only need the yolk. And then the last ingredient to go in here is 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Okay, and then I'm going to whisk these all together. Now I'm going to turn the speed on low for my mixer here, and I'm just going to very slowly pour my liquid ingredients into the mixer and let it go on low for about 2 minutes. Scrape down the bowl with a spatula if I need to, and just kind of let it do its thing. So now I'm just going to let it continue to do its thing for 10 minutes. My bread dough is done being kneaded, so I'm going to go ahead and take this dough out, sprinkle a little bit of flour here. So I'm just going to take this out here, and I'm really just going to give it a quick knead and shape it. All right, kind of shape that into a ball. I've got a bowl here with a little bit of oil in it. I'm just going to kind of take my brush here and make sure it's good and coated. And I'm going to take the dough and I'm going to put it seam side down into the bowl. And then I will cover this with some plastic wrap or some of that beeswax wrap, and just let this sit in a gently warm location like the oven with the light on. And it'll take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours for it to rise, depending upon how warm or cool the environment is. And that is it for the time being. So we'll let this rise until it's about double in size. Alright, so my dough has been rising and it is ready to start the next step. And I've still got my oven light on, keeping it nice and warm in there because this will rise one more time, a second rise, after we form the loaf. So I need to go grab my flour. I already put it away. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on my counter here, on my work surface. I'm going to pull out my dough. I'm going to turn the dough out onto the counter here. Now I'm going to take my little dough blade here and I'm going to cut this into 4 pieces as equally divided as possible. Try and get them all about the same size. These are all pretty close. So now I'm going to take one piece and I'm going to form it into a rope. I'm going to get it as long as I can get it. And generally what I do, I just kind of squeeze it. Squeeze and pull, just very gently. I don't want to pull too hard or the dough is going to tear. Alright, and I'm going to do that with all of the pieces. Kind of get them as long and thin as you can. About 14 inches, 16 inches, somewhere in there. So now I'm going to grab my baking stone that I have here. I've got it lined with some parchment paper. I'm going to braid the loaf right on the pan here. And I'm going to bring the camera down here so that you can see exactly how I'm doing this. Alright, so now this is going to be a 4-strand braid. You could do this in 3, just form it into 3 ropes and braid it normally as well if you want to. I'm going to take all of the ends and just kind of pinch them together a little bit. I'm going to start with the center 2. I'm going to crisscross, lay them down. Take the next ones. Now this one just came from underneath, so I'm going to take it over the next and do the same thing with this one. Crisscross the middle, crisscross, and I just kind of alternate the crisscrosses until I get all the way down there. And then when we get to the end here, I'm going to take all of the ends, I'm going to pinch them together, pinch these together, and then I'm going to tuck them underneath. Tuck all those in there, pinch them together. Do the same thing on both ends. Pinch all the ends together, tuck it underneath. All right. Now I'm going to take the plastic wrap that I had used previously for the bowls. I'm going to go ahead and cover this back up, set it back in the oven, and let it rise for about an hour and a half until it is doubled in size again. Alright, so my bread has risen. It's looking great, and now I'm getting ready to brush a quick glaze onto it. I've got a tablespoon of water in here, and I'm adding in an egg and a little pinch of salt. I'm just going to whisk this up. Now I'm just going to brush this all over the top of the loaf here. Now I don't want to put too much of it down on the edges because I don't want it to kind of seal to the baking sheet that I'm cooking it on. So I just want to coat it all over, and I don't want to have it pool on it either. Just a nice even coating. And then this is going to go into the oven for about 25 minutes till it's nice and golden and gorgeous. Alright, so there you go. Look at that gorgeous loaf right there. So that is how I make my challah bread, and this is it's just a very airy and delicate on the inside type of bread, and if there's leftovers of it, it is fantastic made into French toast, or my favorite dessert on the entire planet, bread pudding. So if you would like to make this recipe, I have a printable version of it on my website, cosmopolitancornbread.com, and if you are watching this video on YouTube, I will put a link to that where you can get it down below this video. If you are new here, I do at least 3 videos every single week on homesteading, home cooking, and back to basics. And over on my website, I have got over 700 recipes and lots of articles and other great content, so be sure to check that out. Thanks for joining me here again in the Homestead kitchen. I will talk to y'all next time.